Well, ladies and gentlemen, dear journalists and friends, welcome to the press conference for Blackklansman, a Spike Lee joint which world premiered last night in Cannes to standing ovation. Well, my first question will be for you, Mr. Spike Lee. I mean, thank you, first of all, for bringing all of you this very powerful film to Cannes. I mean, what struck us, I believe, last night when we discovered your film is that how surreal, I mean, Ron Stallworth's experience was in some ways, and how strongly relevant it is today. Did you feel all a sort of extra urgency on set after the Charlottesville tragedy to tell this story now?
Well, the tragedy happened after we finished. So that was something. I was in Martha's Vineyard, and I was stuck. That's an island off the coast of Massachusetts. I'm not a fan of the Red Sox, Celtics, Patriots, or any team from Boston. I love Martha's Vineyard. Anyway, I was stuck to CNN, and I saw what happened. And right away, I knew that this had to be, you might use the word coda for the film. But I had to do something first. So I was given Susan Bro's phone number. She is the mother of Heather Heyer, who got murdered when that car came crashing down the street. And I was not going to put that murder scene in the film without her blessing. And Mrs. Bro said, Spike, I give you permission to put that in. So once I got the permission, I said, fuck everybody else. That motherfucking scene is staying in the motherfucking movie. Because that was a murder. And we have a guy in the White House, I'm not gonna say his fucking name. It was a defining moment. It was not just for Americans, for the world. And that motherfucker was given a chance to say, we're about love and not hate. And that motherfucker did not denounce the motherfucking Klan, the alt-right, and those Nazi motherfuckers. It was a defining moment, and he could have said to the world, not the United States, that we were better than that. The so-called motherfucking Creole democracy, that's some bullshit. United States of America was built upon the genocide of Native people and slavery. That is the fabric of the United States of America. As my Brooklyn brother Jay-Z would say, facts. That scene had to go in. We look to our leaders to give us direction, to make moral decisions. And I like to say, this is not just something that pertains to the United States of America. This bullshit is going all over the world. This right-wing bullshit is not just America, it's all over the world. And we have to wake up. And we can't be silent. It's not a black, white, brown, or it's everybody. We all live on this planet. And this guy in the White House has a nuclear code. I go to bed every night thinking about it. He has the digit. I seen the football. That attaché case. My wife and I gave a benefit for President Obama his second term, and I saw the attaché case in the car. That is not science fiction. That shit is real. And this motherfucker has a nuclear code. And you got the guy in Korea and this other guy in Russia. What the fuck's going on? So, this film to me is a wake-up call. Because we've gone for the okey doke, walking around in the daze, and stuff is happening, and it's topsy-turvy, and fake has been trumpeted as a truth. That's what this film's about. And I know in my heart, I don't care what the critics say or anybody else, we are on the right side of history with this film. I don't need to say anything else after this. And please excuse me for some profane words, but the shit that's going on, it makes you want to curse. Thank you.
Question here.
Hi, Gwilym Mumford from The Guardian. Question for Spike. How much of this film is a message directly to Trump, or is it talking past him?
Well, I like to say my co-writer, Kevin Wilmot, should be here, but I don't know if we can get the call or what. So when Jordan, this is really like the origin of it, please. Jordan Peele called me out of the blue, and he pitched me the story of the real-life Ron Stallworth. And while we was talking, I was thinking, this sounds like that David Chappelle skit. And after he finished, I said, is this true? And he said, yes. So when Kevin and I came aboard, our number one concern that we knew what our job was. Our job was to take this story that takes place in the early, I don't know why people write 1979. We aren't so specific about the year. It's the early 70s. So our job as filmmakers, as storytellers, was to connect this period piece to present day. What's happening now did not just pop up out of thin air. We had to connect what happened in the early 70s during the Vietnam War. Again, the United States was wrong. We should never have been in Vietnam. The last war we were in was World War II. After that, everything's been a bad choice. We had to end the film in present day. But I do not have the crystal ball, even though my friends call me Negro Damas. I was in Martha's Vineyard when Charlottesville happened. That ending was not written. But Spike Lee joined us. You gotta flow. You gotta flow. You can't be rigid. You gotta be with it. You gotta be hip. You gotta be on it. There's no way in the world why I could not, once I got the blessing from Mrs. Bro, make that the end of the film. And with the help of Focus, thank you guys, we're gonna release this film on the 1-year anniversary of Charlottesville. And it's an ugly, ugly, ugly blemish on the United States of America. I mean, that after you see the demonstrations, you know, it was like a mini Civil War battle without the guns. It was just fists and sticks and bats. I was looking, well, where the fuck are the police? It's like a battle royale. And again, I know I may sound redundant, but during the editing, you only saw one, my great editor, Barry Brown, who's been with me since school days, Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X. I mean, Barry is a great, great editor. And also, I have to give a shout out to Judy Ailey. She had to find the footage. So we had to put together what you saw. There were many, many different angles. So we put ads in papers and Facebook. You know, people sent us stuff. They had filmed on their phones. So using the footage we had, we want to our best ability, show a needless. Heather should be alive now. It's a murderous act, and when we look to our leaders for moral courage, and when they make the wrong choice and give the thumbs up to the hate groups, they come out of the woodworks.
Question here.
Hi, my name is Marcus, work for Swedish television. First want to say it's great to have you here and welcome to Cannes. My question goes to Spike Lee. Considering this movie is based on a true story, was it then a big challenge for you to get research as right as possible?
Well, the movie's based upon a book. Ron Stallworth is alive. We met with him the reading of the script, the read through. Really wasn't. We just had to. This is very simple, sir. We're storytellers. Tell us damn story. That's what we do. Not alone. I'm flanked by great artists. I don't do this shit alone. And so I always look at it as I'm a general manager of a basketball team, a football team, or a baseball team. It's like sports. Here, you know, your game is football, as we call soccer. You want to put the best players out there to win. Teamwork. Everybody up here is a team. There are many people who weren't able to make the trip, weren't fortunate enough to make the trip, that are back in the Republic of Brooklyn, New York. So filmmaking is a collaborative effort. Everybody up here contributed. And what's great, right here, I never worked with Topher before. Never worked with my fellow Brooklynite here, Adam, my man here. We go way back. Never worked with Lauren before, so this is new blood. Damaris, John, I mean, this is a lot of new people here. Was an infusion. So that's great. I mean, I'm old. I'm 61. Been doing this for 3 decades. You know, was here in Cannes back in 1986 for She's a Habit, where I won the Prix de Janice. So I've been at this a minute. So you just want to put the best people in front of, behind the camera to make the best film you can. Because I'll tell you, making a good film is a miracle. Not even I'm talking about a good film is a miracle. You know, it's some hard shit. I'm telling you, it's not, you know, it's hard filmmaking. I'm not complaining. I tell my students all the time, what's easy? But, you know, you got to go to work. And you got to do your research, and you got to learn your craft. You know, again, I'm blessed by the talent we had in front of behind the camera. No more questions for me, please.
In fact, you were just talking about teamwork and research, and this is a question really for all of you. I mean, how did you do research on your characters, reading the book, embracing them, and making them your own on film?
As Spike alluded to earlier, Ron Starworth is alive and well, so I was very fortunate to be able to talk to him on a weekly basis. He was very much available and was generous with his time and information, both tactically and spiritually, and what he was going through during those times in the 70s. It was a radical time, coming off of Vietnam. And they say it in the film, he's like the Jackie Robinson of detectives, of police officers in that time in Colorado Springs. So there was a lot at stake, and what he had to even do to get to that position. And I didn't want to mimic. I didn't want to emulate. I just wanted to inhabit his spirit, and everything that goes into that during that time was a very specific time. So that was kind of my roadmap, and just finding stuff organically. I mean, the environment that was set by this man to my right, I've never had an experience like that on set ever. Such a collaborative environment, which was it was a liberating experience to be able to create full-heartedly. Like sports, I come from a sports background. When you can trust your teammates, when you can trust your coach, it's really your abilities are unlimited. I've never experienced anything like that before. And I'm so very blessed to be able to have this experience and share it with everybody on this podium and sitting here as a part of the film.
And Laura, for you too, it was a very important experience as your first really major role. I mean, how did you embrace it all? Because you were not even born then. I'm sure you did a lot of research too, right?
Yeah, I did. With Spike's guidance, I really tried to kind of live in that period and research and inhabit it as much as I could. We were fortunate enough to be able to meet Kathleen Cleaver, which Spike organized, obviously. And speaking to her and hearing about her experience and being in the Black Panthers and her relationship with Eldridge really helped me find the character. And, reading Angela Davis's autobiography, we watched the Black Panther mixtape together, which was really helpful. Listening to the music was really huge. And just having a great team and working with John David, taking Spike's guidance, everything was just kind of an amazing collaborative effort to really be in that time period.
Yeah. What about you, Adam and Topher? I mean, how did you collaborate with Spike? Because you wanted you to be part of that adventure.
How did we collaborate with him?
Yes, I mean, how did you work with him? How were you guided into this performance? And also, how did you work, obviously, to create this duo?
I think that, no, we didn't really, that it was, a lot of it was in the script and from the conversations. I think we had 2 weeks or maybe a week of talking about it before. So a lot of it was ideas throwing out. I mean, you can do as much research as you can, but you have to be willing to kind of let it go when you're actually doing it. I mean, you're surrounded by incredible actors, so it's a lot of it's following first impulses and paying attention to what everybody else is saying and paying attention to what you're saying. Playing music from my iPhone.
Yeah.
That's a $50 fine on my set.
Yeah.
When phones go off, when they.
Facts.
But I guess that doesn't work in France, so, huh?
Yeah, they're letting it flow too.
Yeah. But I don't know, Spike creates an atmosphere where, I mean, he's kind of spoke to it already, that's very much, the best idea wins. There's no kind of, it's an egoless set, it's very familial. When we were talking about it the first time, it's like, we get home at a decent hour, everyone can go have a life outside of it. It's very familial, and so he kind of sets the tone, and it's easy, I guess. Or no, easy in that you feel free to fail, I guess.
And what about you, Topher? How did you feel being this absolutely obnoxious man, thanks to this man?
Well, I read My Awakening, which is David Duke's autobiography, but it's more kind of like his Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf.
Well, and I watched a lot of Donahue. Do you guys know what Donahue is? Donahue was like before Oprah was on in the States. Donahue was like a daytime talk show, and he was kind of pre-Jerry Springer. So he liked to have controversial figures on, and David at the time, this is kind of the early 80s, he was still the Grand Wizard. So I watched all that. I listened to a lot of his radio show, which is on now. So it was like, I got this call from my agent saying, Spike wants you to play this role. So it's like one of the happiest times ever for me. I mean, I'm going to be in a Spike Lee joint. Then followed by one of the worst times of my life, because I spent a month listening to all this crap. I mean, it's so when you play someone who is alive, which I've done before, you feel a responsibility to kind of get it right. And I did feel that responsibility in the sense of people know who David is, but I did not feel that responsibility to David.
Question here, please.
It's Spike, Roger Friedman from Showbiz 411. It's a great movie. Just
Thank you.
spectacular, magnificent movie. And everyone in it is terrific. But I have to ask you two quick questions.
Pick your best one.
All right. Since it's a modern movie, it's a movie about what's happening today. How do you feel about Kanye West's comments recently? And also, I just want to ask
I'll just say this. Anybody who wants to read go to my Instagram, official Spike Lee, and you can read it. I'm not talking about Mr. West here.
Okay. How did the movie end originally? With the glide at the end and it just stopped? Or was there going to be something else?
I forgot. Serious. Once I saw that footage, that was the ending. So I don't even, I'd be honest, I'm not trying to be funny.
It's such a brilliant ending.
I don't even remember what the ending was before Charlottesville.
Question here.
Oh, hi, Rodrigo Fonseca from TV Globo Brazil. Two quick questions. The first for John David Washington. Congratulations, wonderful acting. For several reasons, we could call Ron a hero. But what kind of hero he is? How could you define him as a hero? And Spike, I'm sorry to ask you this. Could you please tell a few words about your process of work with your cinematographer? How did you build up the cinematography of the film?
You know, him performing his civic duty, you know, protecting and serving the men and women of Colorado Springs, no matter what color he was, he did his job in those times. He prevented, he was able, during his investigation, there were no terrorist or violent acts on the locals during the entire investigation, so that's extremely heroic to me. What I also think was heroic were the men and women that supported him, that were not his color, that were white. That can't go unnoticed. He did get help. He received help, men and women, in that department. And in those times, you would think that it's just one black man, one opportunity. No, he was very well supported, and I think that's a huge takeaway as well.
Question here, please.
Hold on.
Yes.
The cinematographer is a young photographer. His name is Chase Irwin. If you've seen Lemonade, Beyonce's Lemonade, he photographed that. And I was looking for my go-to cinematographer, Matty LaBoutique, wasn't available. Ellen Curious wasn't available, so I had to look for a DP, and Chase is amazing. And this was shot on film. It was not digital. And we really wanted to have the look of 70s films. You see a lot of split screens. That's from the 70s. And there's something that it was, but I had not shot film in so many years, and so I forgot. I mean, it's a little nuisance we gotta run out when the mag runs out and wait for the mags to be changed. But as long as I can, I'm gonna go back to shooting film.
Hi, Maria Esteves from ABC Spain. I want to ask Adam, you are the star of the festival with 2 movies. You are like the Lucky Charm. I will wonder, how do you feel about just being in those 2 movies based on 2 books that they are very important for 2 different cultures? And do you feel the responsibility, even though one can be cursed?
No, I don't. I have responsibility in what to do. Yeah, I read the books.
Yes.
I'm gonna move over here.
Yeah.
I read the books and I make sure I'm facing the right way. And yes, in a sense. I mean, I don't know about responsibility so much because I feel like you're saying what you want to say, I guess, by doing the movie. And then when you're actually shooting it, you can't play responsibility, you know. So I don't think about where it's going or I mean, certainly it's a motivator to keep going, but that can be. I don't really think of it like that. I think of it as, okay, we're doing this now, and everybody's here, and someone paid a lot of money for us to be here, and there's an overall goal that's not my responsibility. So I just try to think of things that are happening now, and the responsibility part I leave to Spike, or I leave to Terry, or no one. It's not really. I don't think it's even. They're not responsible for anything either, because you're different than I am, so your experience of it will be different. I can't tell you how to think or feel, so I don't try to embed what you're doing with a kind of importance or responsibility.
Question there.
Hi, my name is Reka Saka. I'm from Hungary, and I have something to say to Spike Lee. First of all, my mom is from 1954, and I think she's the youngest woman I know, so please don't call yourself old and make some more movies. This is the first
Can you
thing.
repeat that? I didn't hear what you said.
No,
Slowly.
I just said you are not old at all.
Oh.
Okay, so please continue
Thank you.
working. My mom is older than you, and she's very young. And my question would be, I'm coming from a country, you mentioned that this right-wing thing is going all over the world. I'm coming from Hungary, maybe you heard about it, what's happening there. And I was wondering, I know some people that if they would see your movie, even they could find their own rhetorics in it, you know, they would say like, yes, Felix is right, and he's so some people, I don't know, and do you see hope that you can change these people's mind, or how do you target these people, you know, because obviously those people find it terrible what's happening, who have the open heart for that, but those people who are actually on the other side, what do you plan, or how do you talk to them?
Well, I do believe in hope. And I think that many of my films, I think Do the Right Thing is a hopeful film. I believe in hope, but I'm not blind or deaf. So I think that you could be hopeful but still be aware of what is happening. And this film is not just going to be seen in the United States of America. This film will be seen around the world. And I said earlier, this is a global problem. This right-wing stuff that's happening all over the world. So I do hope that people from other countries will see this is happening where I live. So all I hope to do is that this film shakes people from their slumber. I'm going to keep referring to Do the Right Thing because it's a very important film. I mean, one of the criticisms of the film is that I not provide an end, a solution to racism. That was not, first of all, I didn't have the answer. Still don't have the answer, and that was not the purpose of the film. The purpose was to spark discussion. And I think that applies to this film. Where too many people are just walking around in a daze. I mean, opiates. I mean, this is a worldwide problem when people just are just fucked up. You know, they're like zonked out. People are having a hard time to cope around the world. And we have to be vocal. We could not, I don't think we could be complacent and just let stuff slide by that in our heart we know is wrong. We know the difference between right and wrong. And when you see wrong staring you dead in the face, and you're like, mum's the word, then you're helping the other people, in my opinion.
Question here.
Hi, Spike. I'm Chaz Ebert.
I know who you are.
Okay.
Oh, I'd just like to say, your husband at 1989, Do the Right Thing, your husband was a champion for the film. One of the great critics, Roger Ebert. When everybody was telling people that this film was gonna cause riots all across America and black people gonna run amok and this and that, your husband, Roger Ebert, said, this is not what this film's about. So I just wanted to give Roger a shout out.
Thank you. I wish he could have seen this film. You're a consummate filmmaker, and it's going to get a lot of attention. I do have to ask a question. You and Quentin Tarantino have had some back and forths about who has the right to use the N-word in movies and how many times you can use it. And I want to know about your process. As I was watching this film, I admire it, but I have to say that there are parts of it that just, it viscerally, I know it's an anti-racism movie, but what is your process for thinking how much of the words and the negative things you can say to wake people up from a slumber to make the movie effective? Do you know the question I'm asking?
I like to say this has nothing to do with Quentin Tarantino. You're bringing up ancient history, which that's not important. This world is crazy. Who gives a fuck about what Quentin and I had? Let me just finish. Let me finish though. That's inconsequential. That amounts to a hill of beans of what was happening in this world today. So let me answer your question. Words are hateful. Words can be hateful. And I don't think I was elaborating how the Klan talks about. Here's another thing. Anybody just thinks that the Klan just hates black people and not Jews, you need to wake the fuck up. Jews are number 2 on the list. Number 2. The way we had those people speaking is the way they speak. They don't speak lovingly of Jews. They don't speak black people in lovely terms. Those words are harmful. And it was my decision to, whoever sees this film, to hear those words. Even a better answer, I wanted the hate to be verbalized. Verbalized. Thank you, Chef.
Yeah.
Hi, Chris Burns, Euronews NBC. Two questions, one to Topher, one to Spike. Topher, you talked about getting in the head of David Duke. You struck me as playing David Duke as a buffoon and as an evil guy. How did you try to strike that balance between the two? How did you try to make it real? Especially because we saw David Duke at the end and he seemed even more evil. So anyway, I'd like to get your reaction on that. And then to Spike, how much do you think this movie, the timing of it, could impact midterm elections in the US later this year? Thank you.
You go first, Spike.
In Mr. NBC, I'm gonna answer the question this way. During the election, the guy in the office now said he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue, shoot somebody, and people would still vote for him. I thought this guy is crazy. I had never heard of someone running for the president, the office of President of the United States. If anybody's heard of that happened before, please educate me. But when did someone ever running for the President of the United States say they could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue, shoot somebody, and people will still vote for him? Well, you know what? That's one of the few things he was right about. So I don't know what's going to happen as far as the midterm elections.
I'm sorry, I just need you to elaborate a little bit on the question for me. I'm sorry, it was just how he was a buffoon and...
It seemed like the way you played it, obviously he is kind of a mix of buffoonery and evil. How did you try to strike that balance to make it real when we saw that David Duke was even more evil toward the end of the movie, the real guy?
Well, the script did that job for me. I mean, it did a really great job of painting a specific picture of both the clan was that we were looking at, those specific guys, and then who David was as a leader. And then, you know, Spike, it's true. It's like what John was saying. Spike's a great coach. There was a day where I had to do something that felt really evil. It was Spike's idea. He came up and it wasn't in the script. He said, "Hey, try this." What was it? It was whatever that German salute is. Or I'm sorry, the Nazi salute, and screaming white power, and then like 200 people behind me all started screaming white power, and I went kind of into the corner for a second, and I just thought, I mean, I rarely get affected by, I'm not one of those actors with a very deep process, but I was really in a bad place. And Spike came over and just spent some time with me and kind of said, "Hey, don't worry, this is all in, you know, whatever I'm asking you to do is in service of a message that you agree with, even though you're doing something that you don't agree with." You know, there's like 0 other directors besides Spike that I would play this role for.
Thank you.
Sure.
Last question over there.
Hi Spike. Sorry if I speak French, it's better for me. Bonjour, je suis de Vox Africa, une chaîne panafricaine. Et au nom de tous mes collègues qui n'ont pas pu être ici, vous avez dit tout à l'heure, votre film est porteur d'espoir et concerne le monde entier. En Afrique particulièrement, les problèmes de racisme sont assez patents, y compris interethniques. Quel message pouvez-vous adresser, vu que vous êtes un prescripteur là-bas et qu'on vous admire?
Well, I'm not in a position to tell my brothers and sisters in the motherland what to do. Even though countries received their liberation the yokels of colonialism are still there. So everybody has their own problems, and you gotta try to work collectively to try to work this thing out, because there's great injustice going all around the world. So I think I just want to say this one last time. Please do not leave here thinking that what you see in the film is just about the United States of America. This is a global problem. So do me that favor. Think of this film in global terms, not just this peculiar thing that happens in the States. So often, I've been traveling around the world a lot, and it amazes me what, people, a lot of countries I've been to, they want to talk about what's happening in the States. In their own countries, how are you treating the Muslims? How are you treating immigrants? How are you treating, people who immigrated from Africa? So you got your own shit too. It's not just America. That's it, right? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you for bringing such a film.